Hello and welcome back to the AgentPro Podcast. This is your go-to resource for real estate agents looking to take their career and life to the next level with actionable ideas and expert insights. I'm Jeff Thibodeau. I'm here with my co-host Cameron Gray. Today, the topic is how to build an audience as a real estate agent. This is episode 1 of 15 in our real estate content success series. So we're just getting started. We're sharing with you a complete playbook for using social media platforms to grow your business from two people who've actually done it and continue to do it day in and day out. I added that part. From content creation and curation to engagement strategies and beyond, we're covering everything you're going to need to know to go from zero to have a successful online presence and connect with your target audience. So grab a notepad, get ready to take some notes. We're going to keep these episodes nice and concise. We're diving in deep here today to how to build an audience. Let's get right into it. So the very first question that I want to start with today is the big one, is what's the point, right? Why do we even do this? And I'll kick it off because I've been speaking about this since before anyone even cared about it. I've been talking about social media audience building for like over 10 years when it was basically just Facebook back in the day. Instagram wasn't even really a thing anyone cared about yet. It was just for posting a snap of a picture. And the thing I'm always talking about with real estate agents is the fact that having an audience is the lifeblood of our business. If we take the part social media or digital out of it and think about everyone's trying to build a sphere-based business over time. Nobody really loves grinding cold leads. If you do this job right over 5-10 years, you've built a business where most of your business is inbound. People know you, like you, trust you. They're referring people to you. And when we talk about doing this on social media, it's the exact same thing. It's just a different tool. It's not going to the country club, going to the volunteer events, being out there in the community. It's a different community. It's a digital community. What are your thoughts on that, Cameron?
I agree with you. I think you're 100% right. I think building an audience is really just a new place of like engaging people. So like if you're a good audience builder in real life, you means you're more so a good storyteller, because like when you go home at dinner time or whenever you're around your family and you were to talk about somebody who you met with, you're telling a story of the story they told you or something that has happened. Something that's cool with building an audience online is that people can literally go back and rewatch that story every time. So as you create more content, business actually gets easier because now you have all of this content working for you. So it's actually never been an easier time to really build a business. And it's because of being able to engage your audience online repetitively without doing any work at all.
Yeah, I love that. You made me think something really interesting there. Like in the real world, we kind of build a reputation through the memories left in people's minds, but you're talking about leaving an actual, digital trail behind where you make an episode like this and it's up there on Spotify. So someone could be watching this 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and we didn't have to go create it again or give the speech again. Before we move on from that topic, I'm curious for you, because you've been an audience creator across a bunch of different genres, and now you spend most of your time helping real estate agents create their audience. You must be getting feedback from some of your clients. Like, what difference do they see? Someone who wasn't in the digital audience building space, and then they come to you, make a lot of content, and all of a sudden it starts working. They must reach out to you and say, "Hey, this is the effect it's having." Like, what's been the results that people have had?
So everybody's like, I thought I was going to get leads immediately. But I think kind of once I changed my messaging with how we were delivering, like, and getting people to understand how social works, it's all about audience building. So anybody who is in their current sphere or anybody who would have worked with them is now engaging with them. Whenever anybody is calling them, it's always, I loved your video, I loved your content. So it's a much easier conversation starter. What I'm really pushing people towards now is, don't think about, am I adding value? It's just, am I showing up every single day for 8 seconds in front of someone's face? If you are doing that, you're going to be memorable. And then all it really takes is, as long as you know you're putting out consistent, high quality content, people are going to watch 1 or 2 of those videos over the course of the next 3 months. But if they saw you every single day, they're going to engage you when they see you in person and talk about that 1 or 2 stories. So make sure all of your content is quality, but your biggest thing is just posting daily. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. It's the I think that can pivot to my next question for today, which was like, what are the mistakes? Because social media platforms and algorithms and everything, they move really fast. So you could be, doing tactics from 2 years ago that are no longer applicable or getting the wrong advice. So what do you see as the biggest mistakes specifically real estate agents are making when they try to build an online digital audience?
I think the biggest mistake I see is people building for ego. People who are building it just to look cool, or just because they like something they saw somebody else creating, without even checking to see if their target audience is the same thing. Like I think I talked about this last week, but I was working with this realtor and he doesn't even know who his target audience is. And because he's getting a lot of views in a certain area, he's continuing to create content about it, but it's all about tenants. So over time, he's just going to build a bigger and bigger lease focused business. And he's just like, why aren't I getting into this luxury space? And it's like, you're creating content for the wrong people. If you went and talked to a bunch of people in a country club, like you would a high school, are you really going to convert those leads? No. So look and think about who you're talking to and who you want to be getting in front of, because like you're not physically going to be in front of these people, but online the algorithm knows where to push these people to. And then I think another thing is people are focused too much on the numbers, on the views and the likes, when they should be focusing on just getting their craft better every day. So if they can improve their lighting quality, then they can improve their sound quality the following week and improve something else every single day, and you're positioning yourself so 10 years from now I still have this layer in my business, your content is going to already look better than everybody else, because 10 years from now there's going to be somebody else just getting it started, if that makes sense.
I love that. I like this idea of using it as a live like learning ground. It's different than the old days of print media or getting a new headshot or putting a billboard up, where all the effort was in the prep. You produced the product and you shipped it for like a year, right? I got my whole year of flyers. I got my new stack of 2,000 business cards, right? But with social, you can literally be iterating every day. You can be creating something new. I also think that's what stops a lot of people. Like you were saying there, for ego, we want to have episode 1 be perfect. And even you and I are a good example here. We live and breathe this. We just hopped on and created 3 episodes before we even got figured out what we wanted to talk about. We're like, let's just get the workflow figured out. Let's just play around and then let's create a series.
So I think from a creative standpoint, like a perfectionist standpoint, 110% I agree with you there. But I think there's a lot of people who get caught up in the stats of, well, this video only got watched 10 times. Why would I make another video? It's not going to get any more views. And people don't realize that it takes the compound effect and the momentum of like creating content for people to go back and watch that content. But if you have no content, there's nothing for people to watch. So the quality is one thing, but it's more so the audience building is what people are scared of, because they don't have the audience.
And that's exactly what we're talking about today. So the power of building that audience, you've got to build it, right? You're not just going to drop episode 1 and all of a sudden you're going to have everybody watching everything you do. They're already on these platforms watching something else, which I think is another important point, is that, I've been talking about using these tools. I had the benefit of being like early, especially as a real estate agent, early to use them. And I saw a massive benefit. Now it's almost like non-negotiable. Like if you don't at least have some strategy for your client that their property is going to be on these platforms, let alone you. But it's like, pretty soon you're going to be asked, if you're not already, by your clients, like, will my video be on Facebook? Will my video be promoted on YouTube? And if you don't have a good answer for that, it's going to be tough. The other benefit I think that I've seen tremendously is like a single real estate agent. I mean, maybe a few of them, maybe a few of your clients, Cameron, but most of us cannot afford to go and be on television or the radio or in a major national news publication, right? You may be able to get into the local paper or on a cable channel or something with your advertising budget, but all of us can hop on and broadcast our message on these platforms that are worldwide, and your audience is there scrolling and looking at them. So, I challenge anybody to look, bigger and more engaged. And I challenge you, if you don't believe this, or you're still a little old school, just next time you're out and about, just look over people's shoulders and look at what they're doing on their phone. That's my challenge to you, right? Just peek over their shoulder and see what apps they're scrolling on. And they're not watching the news. They're not reading a newspaper. They're scrolling one of these social media platforms. I think it's really, really important to remember that in 2023.
And I think the other half of it is, if you are in public and you're peeking over somebody's shoulder and you're already stressing that, I wonder what this guy's going to think of me. Next time you are in public, do something a little out of the blue and see how many people actually notice that you're doing something out of the blue. So like a big thing, I see people scared of creating content because they think everybody's judging them or looking at them. What most people don't realize is if you're creating a piece of video, that person's going to forget 10 seconds later. It might come up again at dinner time, but after that, it's going to be lost. So if you focus on creating content in the coolest atmospheres, like you're really, really going to stand out. So like that's really what I've been focused on doing, is pushing myself outside of that comfort zone, filming in front of other people. Because
and it's a little more obvious when you're out there with your DLSR and your setup, right? If you're just pulling out your selfie cam, like everybody's doing that. You could just be on a FaceTime call. Nobody's even judging you, right? Like, yeah. So I love that idea. I wanted to ask you about, you touched on it a little bit earlier, but specifically, like, how do you measure success of audience building efforts? If your goal is, okay, I'm a metrics-based person. I like analytics. I want to know that my efforts are, going somewhere. My goal is to start building an audience. How can I tell, at day 7, day 30, day 365 that I am building an audience? What would the results feel like?
So the results for me, and the way that I measure to see like where my next, because I know who's going to be kind of convert before they convert, if that makes sense. So you have to be hyper engaged with the insights part of your business. You have to be engaging with your community as well. So one thing is you're going to realize the same person kind of commenting on your post. You're going to see similar people liking your post through the insights. A lot of these people see you as the creator, so they're not going to reach out. So start engaging with these people, start building little relationships, start pushing them to other communities. And I think that's where you'll start to see a huge benefit, is once you actually start getting them into like a drip campaign, or once you actually get them pushed to a Facebook group, because you're going to see a lot of like notifications coming in. Reach out and send a message to somebody. If you're seeing their picture pop up in your notifications more than once or twice a week, reach out and talk to them. They're curious about you. And especially if you've never started a conversation, like that's the biggest way of measuring it, as well as like in person. Are you starting to see people say to you like, hey, I like your videos. I really like what you're building online. I wish I was kind of doing that. If you notice that people are doing that, then you're talking about the right things. People are kind of jealous as to what it is you're doing. So you are one step ahead of the 8 ball. Just kind of now look at your competitors and work your way towards what they're doing now. That makes sense.
I love that. I think I've definitely noticed there's like a generational difference too. Like, so I'm 42 years old. You're a much younger man than me. And if we put ourselves in like people my age and older versus, younger than me or in your age bracket, I think anyone down in the younger age bracket can experience a lot more digital engagement. It seems to be a lot more native, that people are used to liking and commenting and engaging, versus my age group, you get a lot of voyeurs. So I loved your point of like, you might not feel like you got a lot of engagement digitally, and then you go out in the real world, or you go back to, a social event and everyone has watched your video and they congratulate you on it. I've seen this effect time and time again, especially when I was running my real estate brokerage and I was helping a lot of experienced agents get on camera for the first time. Even if it was just to host their tour video of their house, they would get so much positive feedback from in the real world, not online, because everyone's watching. But of a certain generation, our tools were never interactive. We watched social media like television.
TV
you just scroll. Yeah. And you don't actually engage. And this is really powerful. If you are of my age group or older, you can take that behavior. One of the best things ever, like I DM authors of books I comment on creators. If I'm on somebody's live stream, I chirp in and they always reply. You can get that connected to like someone who you had on a pedestal as a celebrity. And so what Cameron's saying here, which I love, is that to proactively do that in reverse. If you see someone is viewing your content or constantly showing up in your stories, to take a minute. If they respond to one of your polls, like make that hey, how you doing moment, right? And start to build that two-way conversation, because instead of just waiting for it to happen, if you initiate it, you could get a lot more going. And that's such a deeper relationship than just the viewer and the viewee, if you're talking back and forth to each other on these platforms.
Mm-hmm. And like you're also going to realize people are busy. Like people might not respond to that message right away, but when they see that follow-up process, like I know I'm a B2B business, so it's a little differently, but I'll have people all the time come in and they're like, Cameron, I respect the hustle, I respect the grind. Like I'll go into my DMs and like you don't really care. You'll message 4 or 5 times, even if I already are you, like read and not respond. But like if you keep on pushing for that, these people are busy. They don't know what to kind of say back. You'll get some sort of engagement. You just got to figure out their interests, figure out want to talk about and provide value to your audience and see what they're doing and seeing if you can change what you're saying, because if it is benefiting them too.
Totally. One thing I wanted to add to that conversation too is that, out in the real world, if we're talking about building our sphere, building our network, we're not trying to be like transactional. We're not actually looking for leads in that moment. And this is, all great real estate agents understand this, that the more people that know you as a real estate agent, the easier your life's going to be. And so if we take that attitude to social too, where we're not actually looking for a hot lead, we're building an audience, and that audience, that might not reward you for years because that person might not need to move or might not know you enough to refer you somebody, but it's still going to be worth it. If this isn't like the last 2 years of your career, you're not planning on retiring 2 or 3 years from now, like this effort is definitely worth it. And the ability, just like this, to get on and talk one to many and have that content be there and let people scroll back to it, I think is really powerful. I wanted to pivot to the question, which I think trips a lot of people up. Everyone's good at getting started, right? But how do you keep going? It'd be easy. This is like only our 4th time hopping on camera like this. It'd be easy to throw in the towel, right? And not plan like a 15 episode series. And we kind of know the value of this. So I feel for people that come in with a good plan, but then it really is the consistency of making this either a daily or every other day habit. What are your kind of tips for your clients to, make this part of their life and not just, oh, I can pay somebody to do this, or I'm just going to do it once and it's going to work?
I think like the biggest mind shift change that I made this year, and that like I'm making most of my clients realize, is like, so people who are usually good at business, is the underlying truth is they're actually pretty lazy. They don't want to have to continue to do what they're doing. So when I think you make the shift and when you make the realization, like me personally, I'm a pretty introverted extrovert. So I don't really like talking to people all of the time. I found that I can still talk to people every single day, just one time a day instead, by creating content. So what I do is when I'm in my best moods in the morning, I find that this is a meditative way of thinking because I'm putting content out. I'm able to watch it back without having to write in a notebook, listen to the way that I was talking, listen to the tonalities of my voice. And it's actually helping me grow and learn because I'm watching stuff back. It's redepositing those ideas back into my head, and it's kind of staying focused with my audience. So I think like the biggest thing to stay consistent with it is just realize that over time, like you're going to have to do less legwork in the real world, and you'll be able to focus more time on being lazy. And like one thing I forgot to mention to you is like, so we have a bunch of clients right now reaching out that are their brokerages trying to get their biggest agents to start creating content. Guys who are making $5 million a year and they just don't have the time. They don't even show up to team meetings. What these guys don't realize is like this will make their days even lazier because all they now have to do is create content to create leads for a team that they can generate that closes all the deals. So I think like to change your mindset is just to realize that once this content is created, if it is evergreen and high quality, you could post this next year as well. Why can't you post a story that you created last week, 3 weeks from now? Will anybody notice? No. But I think like just posting and having a lot of high quality content and then just knowing what your goal is and that you're working towards it will keep you consistent.
Yeah, I love those tips. And, I find too that like for me, especially, and this must be true of everybody, is that you got to, at some level, become a user of these platforms, even if it's only for 10 minutes a day. So you're staying involved. And so if you're already a user of, say, Instagram, but maybe you've never been over on TikTok and like, it's like, I don't even like this platform. Well, get on there for just 5 minutes, right? And scroll around and see what you like and see what you don't like. And then you want to make that mindset shift to, instead of being the consumer, I can be the creator. And it doesn't take any more time. It's a shifting of that time. Instead of mindlessly scrolling and all this stuff we don't want to see, I could put that same time into adding value to the platform and actually putting something out there that could help my business. And I love what you were saying, that there can be a vision of the future that maybe it's not all going to be on my shoulders. Maybe on day one, I do got to do all this. I don't have a social media team and assistants and everything. But if I did this right, I don't know any mega agent that wouldn't take the offer to have a Netflix show or an HGTV show. And you know how much work that is? Like you'd be showing up for multiple days of production and makeup.
Well, think
and all
about
this.
You own the Netflix of real estate. You can own the shows and have people on your team running the shows because you own the audience. You own the platform. It's just a
That's right.
different
Yeah.
perspective.
And it is that thing I've noticed too, that it does feel a little fleeting sometimes. Like it feels like, oh, I got to post every day, but it isn't really. Like if you do take a break or take a week off and then you get back to it, your audience is still there waiting for you. Right. So you do have to maintain it. It's not like if you post for a year and then you completely stop 2 years from now, you're probably not going to see any results. But as long as you put the effort in up front and start to curate that audience, you can keep coming back to them, and apply those same tactics to other platforms.
One thing that I'm doing right now is because I'm not a consumer at all. I can't stand social media. I don't consume. I'm kind of bored of creating and not creating content. I enjoy creating content, but when it comes to consuming content, I just don't really consume as much. But on that side of things, I have my girlfriend who loves TikTok. So I pick her brain about what she's doing on TikTok. I watch the way that she uses it. I watch the way that she thinks using the platform. So like to me, as a person who's been using the internet forever, whenever I need to do something, I open up YouTube, I look up how to do it. Our son has a hearing loss, so we needed to clean his hearing aids, and she went straight to TikTok to learn how to do it because YouTube didn't have any of this, and TikTok was her platform. It was the easiest place to go to, and it's short form videos. Nobody wants to go skim through a 7-minute video on how to do something, watch the YouTube intro. They want to get right into it. They want to see how it's done. So build a little mastermind community and have one person focus that loves and is passionate about each platform on the platform to talk about.
And I think you make an important point there too, where your audience has already picked their preferred platforms, and just because you want to be on YouTube or you like Facebook better doesn't mean you're going to bring anybody over. Yeah, you got to go meet people where they're at. If they've picked their favorite platform as TikTok, that's where they open up and they scroll. A lot of people aren't looping through 6 apps. They've kind of picked their home at this stage of the game. So I love that. Hey, let's finish up with a final question because we're already rolling over longer than we wanted to, which surprise, between the two of us, we're talking more than we expected. Let's wrap up today's episode because we're going to go deep. We got 14 more episodes coming to go real deep on all these different topics, but really surface level. Say we do this successfully. How do we now pivot that audience into revenue, right? How do we turn an audience into business?
So I think a lot of people overthink it really. And I think the easiest way that you have to really think about it is, what does my audience need? What can I provide to the mass? I think that's one thing. When I first started, I was trying to find something that I could do like very custom for every single person. But if you can start developing an offer that is valuable to everybody on a bottom level, you can layer that into your business to create income, to market yourself. That's one of the biggest things. So I think as a realtor, like, it's a little bit harder to turn it into income unless you're creating like a productized investment opportunity. Like right now, there's people who didn't sell their house because they thought the COVID bubble was going to pop, sort of thing. They have equity right now. The mortgages or houses are on a discount. You just have to convince them how they're going to carry their mortgage. And if you can do that, you're going to create a bunch of opportunities for a bunch of different types of people. So you just have to be a very creative thinker when it comes to like who your audience is and how you're going to convert them. Like if you look at Mr. Beast, for example, right now, he's a guy who has learned to build an audience of children, and now he creates chocolate bars. He owns and he's competing with McDonald's and Burger King. He's competing with some of the biggest clothing brands. He's inside of Walmart with some of his kids' brands. You just have to know your audience and know what they want, and don't try to provide as much value as possible to them. Try to create something that they can just take from every single day. So like as a realtor, you're not going to create as much income from it, but if you can create like a little training program or like a fitness program, and you're getting people in it regularly, like 20 people in it, and 1 or 2 people convert from that audience, you're being able to create like smaller products outside of that. And maybe you could charge for it as a consult or something at some point too.
Yeah, I love that. And I think I'll add to the discussion there that we want to keep audience building and lead generation in 2 different camps. If lead generation is your only goal, you can do that. You can run ads. We can make a landing page. You can give a ebook download. We can offer a free home evaluation. You can do all that on these digital platforms, but that's totally different than building an audience. That's the same way if you sent a flyer out and you're just expecting 1 call, versus you're building those relationships by going to the community events and learning all your neighbors' names. And these are 2 different things online too. And I think a lot of the time people are asking about ads and lead gen, and they're not really understanding that audience building, these are two totally separate topics. And if you want leads, that's a different campaign. But it is also, in my experience, you probably don't want those leads. they're
just
cold
to add
leads.
to that,
You're gonna have to call them back. Yeah.
Just to add to that, like with Facebook ads, like I spent a ton of money when first starting Gray Media on Facebook ads. I think I dumped, it's not a ton of money, like $2,000 into it right at the start, and I got no conversion from it. But now, like I spend anywhere from $400 to $500 a month on Facebook ads, and the conversion is just so much higher because and I don't like so many realtors just at the brokerage have said, "Oh, you got to try Gray Media. Have you seen a Gray Media video? Have you seen this? Do you know Matt Campoli? Do you know this person? Do you know that person?" So because it's popping up, they're clicking into the ad and it's actually converting. It's like a Nike shoe. Like the first time I saw Nike, I didn't buy a pair of Nike shoes, but on the 11th or the 12th time, once I realized everybody was wearing Nike, I wanted Nike. It's like right now I'm looking at cars. Now all I see is that one car that I want all the time on the road.
I love it. Okay, that's a great place to end for today. We will be back with episode 2 very shortly. So that is a wrap for the Agent Pro podcast. I hope you found this information we shared today valuable, and it helps you take your social media presence and your real estate business to the next level. If you have any questions or comments about today's episode or anything related to digital media or real estate, you got two pros on the line here. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to us on any of your preferred platforms. We're on them all. Just search out Jeff Thibodeau or Cameron Gray. And don't forget to tune in and subscribe for our next episode. We'll be diving into beating the algorithm. This is the big topic of 2023. Probably since about 2021, the algorithm has been the big thing. All of our friends out there who are just new to this might not realize that these algorithms didn't used to exist. If you subscribe to your friend, you saw all their posts. You weren't competing with the entire world of creators. So we're going to give you some tips and tricks on how to make sure that if you are going to take the effort to create some content, that content actually gets seen. So until then, keep creating, and we'll check you on the next episode.
Peace out.